Babe of the day. Babe of the day. Sable, also known as Rena Mero. If you were around in the 1990s, and a male of any age, you knew Sable. Even if you weren't a wrestling fan. Sable was just it. She was blonde, bosomy, beautiful, and 5'8". She stood out on screen and even in merchandising. There have been a lot of women in wrestling since wrestling started, but, sadly, most of them fly under the radar of the masses. In the 1980s, Miss Elizabeth was the most famous woman in the wrestling world. In the 1990s, it was Sable. Sable was born as Rena Marlette Greek in Jacksonville, Florida. She was always athletic. At the age of 12, Rena won her first beauty pageant. In 1990, she became a model and worked for some pretty big clients including Pepsi, L'Oreal, and Guess. She married a man by the name of Wayne Richardson in 1987. They had a daughter named Mariah. Sadly, Wayne died in a car accident in 1991. She met her second husband, the wrestler Mark Mero, in 1993 and married him in 1994. In only a few years, this union would make her more famous than she could have ever imagined. Mark brought Rena into the wrestling world under the stage name of Sable. In the beginning, Sable started out a lot like Miss Elizabeth. She was a glamour queen, acting as a valet to Triple H. This was at WrestleMania 12 on March 31st, 1996. Right away, a major storyline was started when Mark Mero saw Triple H mistreating her backstage. Mark attacked Triple H and took Sable as his manager. Sable remained Mark's manager until he got injured in February of 1997. Pretty early on, Sable became more popular than Mark Mero. When he was off TV for a while, she gained more attention than ever. Sable was the ultimate good girl of wrestling at that time. She started off wearing nice gowns and things, but even when she changed to wearing trashier clothes, she was still a face wrestler. Mark came back in September of that year, and his gimmick was changed. Now he was the jealous husband, like Macho Man was to Miss Elizabeth, and refused to let Sable get any of the spotlight. He also treated her pretty badly. As far as the wrestling act went, not in real life, things came to a head between Sable and Mark Mero. In May of 1998, Sable challenged Mark to a match, beat him, and officially broke up with him. The truth is, they didn't actually divorce until 2004. In 1999, Sable appeared in the April issue of Playboy magazine. It became one of the highest selling issues of Playboy ever, and for good reason. Sable looks really, really good in it. She ended up appearing in the magazine 2 more times. Once again in 1999, and the final time in 2004. After her debut appearance in Playboy, Sable's wrestling gimmick was changed. She was now a heel, with an inflated, gone Hollywood attitude. What happened during this time is one of those art imitating life or life imitating art debates. In my own humble opinion, I liked the character of Sable better as a heroine. Even in 1999, I thought the entertainment industry was filled with too many bad girl characters and not enough likable ones. I really do think most people preferred the early Sable over the later Sable. Sable was actually having a go-around with the WWF company. Because of this, she was stripped of her Women's Champion title on screen on May 10th, 1999. Sable was also very unpopular backstage. I wasn't there, and I'm not a wrestling insider, so I'm not going to say who did what and if they deserved it or not. But there was, indeed, a lot of friction. In June of 1999, Sable quit the WWF and promptly sued them for $110 million. She claimed there was a lot of sexual harassment and unsafe working conditions. She allegedly filed the lawsuit after refusing to go topless. Back in 1999, a lot of people didn't take this too seriously, and it wasn't a major splash in the news. Knowing what we do now about the wrestling world, and particularly the WWE and Vince McMahon, yeah, it's a lot easier to believe Sable now. Vince McMahon countersued Sable over the use of her stage name, so she had to go by her legal name of Rena Mero for various public appearances. She eventually reduced the amount she was seeking in damages, and the case was settled out of court in August of 1999. Even as Rena Mero, she remained popular and highly visible. She made a number of TV and film appearances. My favorite TV appearance would have to be in Relic Hunter. She played an extremely attractive and extremely crazy leader of an Egyptian-themed cult. I thought Sable looked great in that show before she revealed herself to be a villainess, but she really pops in that pharaoh outfit. Wowza! And the fight scene between her and Tia Carrere? Too hot. In November of 2000, she got her own comic book series, The 10th Muse, from Image Comics. Rena Mero got name credit as the model and inspiration for the superheroine character, although other women became the models for the character later on. She also hung out on the fringes of the wrestling world, making some appearances with other companies like WCW and the short-lived XWF. Sable came back to the WWF, now known as the WWE, on April 3rd, 2003. She played the bad girl, again, and this became a pretty messed up time for the Sable character. The major storyline was that she was in an affair with Vince McMahon, and that she had an ongoing feud with his daughter, Stephanie McMahon. In a catfight, Sable's bra was ripped off, exposing her breasts on live television, the same thing that she was fighting against in real life back in 1999. In the spring of 2004, Sable became a good girl wrestler again for a brief period of time, but went back to her bad girl ways shortly after. In August of that year, she left WWE, this time on good terms. Reportedly, Sable wanted to spend more time with her family. Personally, I don't think she could have possibly been happy during this time doing what she was doing. It was a little bit too trashy. In 2004, Sable and Mark Mero got divorced. She married the wrestler Brock Lesnar in 2006, and together they have two sons, Turk and Duke. On the whole scope of things, Sable wasn't in the wrestling business for all that long. 1996 to 2004 is only 8 years, and she was only active with the WWE for half of that time. Despite this, I don't think any woman wrestler during what they called the Attitude Era made as much of an impression with the public as Sable. Indeed, a lot of the pretty blonde wrestlers that came after Sable feel more like copycats than original characters. Sable was truly an original wrestling character, and a deserving champion. Babe of the day, babe of the day.